Well, all right. So we're gonna sculpt a pumpkin using SculptGL. You already watched the introduction video, so you're probably really well acquainted with it all. But I'm gonna show you how I approach the project, just in case you were having trouble getting started. First, it might help to, look at a picture of a pumpkin. If you don't already have one. If you can't imagine a picture of a pumpkin. Or sketch a pumpkin. But here we go. There's a couple different pumpkins from a bunch of different angles. Little pumpkins, big pumpkins, all the pumpkins. Sad, slightly rotten pumpkins, or a nice big extra plumpkin. Just gonna go with this really generic image. I'm gonna save that too. To my SculptGL files. And if I want, now I can import that image. That's maybe a little much. So then I'll be able to see the pumpkin as I'm working. Yeah, maybe I'll just reset and try and toggle between these two tabs to remember what a pumpkin looks like. The brushes you're going to want to use are flatten, to kind of get this flat top of a pumpkin and a flat bottom. It's basically like an oval. So switch up to the top and probably get rid of your symmetry. You can also increase the intensity or the radius of your brush to really flatten it out pretty quick. Flatten out the top. Go around, flatten out the bottom. If you really want to get the full experience for what the pumpkin looks like in 3D, you can go down to Heap's Pumpkin Farm and say hi to Mrs. Heap from the Media Center. But there we go. Kind of got our ovally shape. The next thing we want to do is use the crease tool to put some of those lines down the side of our pumpkin. Can increase the radius of our brush. It's going to make that crease a little bit more dramatic, or a little bit bigger. And since none of those creases are the same, it's really deep. And just kind of go from the top down to the sides, and work your way around the whole pumpkin. And not the only way to do this, but just how I did. Sure. And just for sake of time, the other tool to use for sculpting your pumpkin is the inflate. And that's going to help, give a more organic, less geometric shape. One thing you can do is try and adjust your brush size to about the size of those little sections of your gourd. Really bump it up. And you notice from the flattening, some of those edges get a little angular. So using the smooth tool, you can kind of round out some of those edges along the top. And it'll get a little bit more. That'll look a bit nicer. Might have to invert my brush tool, maybe. Take that down a notch. That was a huge, big old lump on the pumpkin. Yeah. I'll finish that side of the pumpkin later. Though, two other things I want to show you is how to add a stem. So, scene, we want to add our stem, which is basically a cylinder. To get it more to the right size, we're going to shrink it down. We'll move it to the top of our pumpkin. And then shrink it down using those squares. Oops. And shrink down the width. Oops. You know, I could probably just use that outer circle. That's going to shrink the scale of the whole thing in proportion. And then move it down. So it's pretty much merged with the top of our pumpkin. And then go back, change your brushes. You can crease it up to kind of give it that creased, wrinkly looking stem look. Zoom out, zoom in over here, pan around, and then start adding some texture that way. Oops, the nice thing about sculpting these little organic shapes is that it can be kind of haphazard, all willy-nilly. But soon enough, you should end up with something that starts to look like a stem. So the next thing we want to do is play with our rendering. So topology. Sorry. We want to paint. Select our paint tool. And we can start playing with our colors. Get a brownish, greenish stem. Yeah. Click paint all. Ta-da. There we go. Next, we want to select our other object. Oops. No, we're gonna paint that. Use a slider somewhere between yellow and red. We'll get orange. Oh yeah, that's real pumpkin-y. We'll paint the whole thing that color. Woo, cool. So we've got our pumpkin-ish shape. We just gotta carve it. Whoops. Yeah, we want black. We're not gonna paint it all black though. We're gonna paint our jack-o'-lantern face on it.